With over 43 million global streams, a platinum-certified album, multiple CCMA awards, and a JUNO Award, the Roadhammers are known for their powerful blend of 60s and 70s classic country and southern rock-infused sound. So I'm joined on the Swamp podcast by the founder of the group, Jason McCoy. Jason, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Aaron. How you doing?
Fantastic. So you said you're on brand and you're on the road as we speak, right?
Yeah, rolling and chatting. That's what we're actually on our way to a rehearsal. Got a bunch of shows ready for the summer. So, we got to get in fighting form, ready to go. But, always on the run, man.
You guys are going into studio, doing some rehearsing, and you're heading to Toronto, I guess, today, right?
Yeah, today's Toronto. We're playing a good run of shows all throughout the summer. We're off to Australia in August. Going to be back there again in October. So, jumping the pond a couple of times. But it's celebrating 20 years as a band, and it's just busier than ever. It's a good sign, thanks to the fans and all the folks who support.
We're going to be catching you guys on the Meadows Music Festival stage. So what can fans expect in Fergus from the Roadhammers tomorrow?
It's been a minute since we've had new music out, so we're going to crank out a couple of 3 new songs on the set, which is, it's always exciting, but it's pretty unnerving, right? It's like it's like buying a new shirt or something and wearing it to an event. You're like, I hope this works, But it's great. It feels like you got to have those moments too where you're evolving and you got new stuff going on, because that's what keeps it exciting for you and the fans.
Yeah, we did a Q&A with you, I guess a couple of years ago now, right ahead of the Great Canadian Road Trip with Michelle Bright and Doc Walker, which is carrying on, I guess. And then right after your induction into the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame. And you hinted then that there was some new Roadhammers music in the works. So I guess that's true, right? You guys been in the studio working on some stuff?
Yeah, and that's the thing about the studio these days, right? Like there's so many options. So we, in the old days, you'd go into the studio, you'd record, and then you have to, wrap it all up like within a certain time frame because you only had so much studio time. But now, we all have kind of these home studios, and we can do vocals at home, add guitar parts, and you can kind of sit and like a fine, dinner or something. You can let it marinate a little bit and circle back and tweak things, which is good. It's also, it can delay the record because you're like, hey, what if we try this, But we're at the point where we're ready to go. We got 3 songs ready to go. Got our first single, teed up for August. Going to have a really great contest around that too. The first single is called Dirty Hands, Clean Money. And we're going to be doing a big giveaway. Can't tell you too much about it right now, but it's in partnership with our good friends at Traction Heavy Equipment Supply. So there's a lot going on.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to that. And again, we're obviously, as I mentioned, we're looking forward to Meadows Music Festival tomorrow in Fergus. So you'll be sharing the stage with the Reclaws and Tyler Joe Miller, Andrew Hyatt, and Sean Austin with their kind of country mixtape show. So you guys are going to kind of be the vets taking the stage a little bit earlier in the evening, about 5:45. So it'll give you a chance, I guess, to show these young guns how it's done, right?
Yeah, right. It's fun. I mean, the cool part about festivals is that it's all with bands, and you get this unique experience of all these different artists. Fergus is, obviously a beautiful part of Ontario to show off. And the Reclaws, here's the other cool thing, a lot of strong Canadian and Ontario talent on that bill. I mean, Andrew Hyatt's from Ontario, so the Reclaws. And I got to mention, Sully Burrows, he's just been added to the show from Perry Sound. Written with Sully a few times. He's absolutely fantastic. And he's he's Canada's next superstar. He's not just going to be a star. He's going to set the bar on an international level. He knows who he is, what he wants to do, and he's an old soul. And he's got that X factor, So it's good to be part of that. Good to be still doing what we're doing. And Fergus is it's just such a great country town.
Speaking of superstars, you're going to be joining other superstars in July at the Country Thunder Festival in Saskatchewan. So talk to me a little bit about that. I guess you're prepping for that as well, right?
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I mean, Country Thunder, they're just great folks. They put on one of the best festival brands around. And we're going to be working with Def Leppard, which is great. We've done a lot of shows with rock artists over the years. We did shows with Twisted Sister back in the day. When you get on the metal side of things. But, and it's interesting because with the Roadhammers, we get paired up with rock acts quite often. I remember a couple of years ago, we got booked on a show in France, and it was in Tours, France, just outside of Paris. And the promoter, his English was a little broken, so we thought we were part of a festival. and we were going to be on a festival with, the Scorpions. And we thought, well, that'll be on one day. We're kind of probably somewhere else another day. Well, it turns out we're co-headlining this show with the Scorpions. So here we are. It was such a weird, unreal, so surreal. But those are the kind of things that happen in the music business. And, we're very happy to be playing with Def Leppard. I mean, those guys set the bar way back. So it's good to be working with those legends.
Absolutely. And speaking, I was going to ask you about this, the whole country and rock kind of blend, crossover, whatever you want to call it. Like Country Thunder, you mentioned Def Leppard on the bill. Bands like Nickelback, I know they've been on kind of more country music festival bills. Hardy's another name that comes to mind. But really, the Roadhammers, you guys have always had that blend. You guys have always had that rock country sound, right?
Yeah, when we first hit the scene, I mean, there really weren't a whole lot of artists that were doing what we were doing. It was just it was just turning up the drums and the guitars a little more, running a telly through a Marshall and, making it happen. And that's just what we did, as soon as we got the room together. It wasn't anything that was created in the studio. It was just organic. I think that crossover is really important. I think that you gotta take who you are and record it instead of try to craft it too much. So we leave a little hair on, around the edges, leave a little fuzz on it. And it seems to translate.
I was looking into some of your recent solo work, or from the past few years anyway. And for context, I guess I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan, huge Soundgarden fan, huge Chris Cornell fan, and of course the combo band Temple of a Dog. So I just listened to this for the first time today. So you, alongside Kyle McCurney, did a fabulous traditional country cover of Hunger Strike. It really just dropped my jaw when I heard it. So can you talk a bit about that, how that came together, and I guess why you chose that song?
Well, okay, first of all, Kyle McCurney is like the best. Like he's the real deal. So he grew up in Nashville. His dad was an artist himself, and so he grew up with that running through his veins, like quite honestly, right? And he's one of the best singers in the world. He's got such a gifted guitar player, great songwriter, and he's one of the best hearts of any person I've ever met. And he wanted to do Hunger Strike. And I grew up listening to, Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings, so I didn't know a whole lot about Chris Cornell and all that. I of course knew the name. But this was a bit of a deeper cut for me, so I didn't know the song. And he said, you know what, I'm doing this thing. I've always wanted to work with you, and just would you be interested? And I listened to the song. I said, I don't know what I would do, because I'm this country guy, right? He said, well, then he sent me an acoustic thing of what he was wanting to do. He said, well, I want to do it a little different, and he wants to draw attention to, those who have food insecurities all over Canada, but in Alberta specifically. And I'm like, absolutely. So we got in the studio. Russ Broom was producing at OCL in Calgary, he's such a big dog. I mean, he produced all that J&R and stuff. And just great people doing great things with a great song. I was just happy to be a small part of it.
Yeah, no, that was really cool to listen to. And whenever I find those connections to the bands that I kind of grew up listening to, and like we said before about that whole blending of the genres, it's just cool to hear different renditions of songs.
Crazy good, love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting back to the whole festival scene, the Roadhammers, you guys have been around, celebrating over 20 years, and you guys have shared the stage with some, country music legends like Loretta Lynn, Joe Diffie, Hank Williams Jr., Chris Stapleton. And so, like I said, with festival season upon us, do you have any kind of backstage stories that really stand out with sharing stages with some of these artists?
Chris Stapleton was super, super cool. Him and his wife, just kind of hanging out backstage. It's like it's almost like they were sightseeing. They just happened to be the best singers in the world. They just kind of digging the Saskatchewan landscape. We got to, chat with them a bit about their travels. Hank Jr., oh my gosh, man, we played in Alabama with him. He came on our bus. The guy is 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide. Like he's just a massive personality. And, he's a legend. Like his dad wrote the songbook of country music, and Hank carried that tradition on. Talk about a rebel, a guy who colors outside the lines, and he was very encouraging that we should definitely continue doing that. So that was neat. I think when you get to meet these people, there's some that are entertainers, like it's a show, and other ones are just they're so themselves they can't help it, and that's who these people are. The icons are the ones that they're going to be doing it whether they get paid or not, and they're just different because they're themselves. Like Hank Jr., he's on the Hank Jr. channel all the time, right? It's like he's a planet. So you're either you You enter the orbit or you don't, and that's it. And I'll tell you, when you do, it's one hell of a planet to be on.
Absolutely. So now we mentioned earlier some of these other bands that you're going to be sharing festival stages with, some of the younger bands like the Recklaws and, the Andrew Hyatt and those guys. So, do you try to go out of your way to speak to those guys and kind of share some stories and share some of your wisdom that you've kind of learned along the way from some of these other legends?
Oh, man, I think I'm still in the learning phase. I have a whole lot to impart. And I think that's what you have to keep doing in life. And I don't care what you're doing, if you're in the trucking business or you're in the music business or, shoe sell or whatever you're doing. You try to hear about the next thing. For us, technology is the big thing I think we all share. Social media, engaging with the fans, chatting with people like yourself, getting the word out through all different types of, media. That's the cool part, because when I started out, man, we didn't have cell phones. We were touring with a paper map. And, we had a calling card. You used to have to hop on, find a payphone. And it was a different deal. So now there's this connectivity to the nth degree where you can really, find a new fan base in all different ways. That's kind of like, the music is always going to be first. But those types of things are just mind-blowing to me, how we can now allow access to fans, so we can find new fans, find new audience, and feed that audience in creative ways. That's the amazing part. Now, AI is going to be, the next playing field that we all got to jump into. So we're all talking about that. So those are the kind of things I find that we chat about.
Yeah, right on. We're looking forward to seeing you guys perform, and all these artists perform, but definitely seeing the Roadhammers perform at the Meadows Music Festival in Fergus. So, Jason, thank you very much for taking the time with me. We'll look forward to new Roadhammers music and to your contests and all the things that you guys are doing. So we'll stay tuned to the roadhammers.ca for that information. So, Jason, safe travels, and we're looking forward to seeing you on stage.
Aaron, going to be a great time. Thanks, everybody in Fergus, and just thanks to all the country fans for supporting the Roadhammers 20 years, man. It's game on.